When the Hyundai Motor Group first launched its Genesis luxury division, it did so with two models. They took their Hyundai Equus, turned that into the G90, and then they took the Hyundai Genesis, that's where they got the name Genesis, and turned it into the G80. Now the G80 is in its second generation for the 2021 model year, and for the first time, the G80 is designed from the ground up to be a Genesis. We've got the 2021 Genesis G80 right here, and today I'm going to show you what it's all about. So let's start with an exterior walk around of the new G80, and when I say new, I really do mean all new. This looks nothing like the G80 that it replaces. Let's start with the color. It's called Tasman Blue, and it has like a little bit of green to it. I think it is gorgeous, especially wait until you see the interior that it is paired with. I think this is the best color on offer. Now, we have a very new design language on this G80 that is going to be shared with the G90, the GV80 SUV, and the upcoming facelifted G70 and GV70. So everything is done in twos. So you have this split headlight design. You're going to see that this split character line continues all the way down the side of the car as well. Up front, we have this massive shield crest grille. This is the grille they've been doing on a lot of their models lately. It's very chromy on this model. A lot of people don't like how big it is, but I think it works extremely well with the overall design of this car. And because we have the 3.5 Prestige that is the top trim with the big V6 engine, we've got these big, nice 20-inch 5-spoke wheels. They are staggered, 245 in the front, 275 in the rear. I think they look fantastic, but other wheel options are available elsewhere on the G80. Here on the side profile, I love these marker lights right here. That's that dual character line that I was talking about here. It comes on when you put on your turn signals. And we have a very four-door coupe-esque looking roof line that sort of slants down onto the side here. I think this is very reminiscent in design of the first generation Mercedes-Benz CLS, but tell me in the comments if you see that or you think I'm crazy. Here in the back, we have a very tapered rear end. Again, like I mentioned, it looks like a Mercedes CLS, at least in my opinion here. We have the split taillight design that finishes off our split design elements from that we saw starting with the headlights. We have Genesis written across here with G80, and we do have a little badge denoting that we have the 3.5T. You can also get a 2.5T 4-cylinder, and we do have some exhausts here that are fake, but there are exhausts underneath there. There's supposed to be the same shape as that front crest grille. So if you thought the exterior of the G80 looked pretty spectacular, just wait until you hop on the inside, where I think the fact that Genesis is such a new upstart brand means that they were able to take so many risks and take so many bold choices with this interior design, and it's just paid off dividends so well. They've kind of just copied, they've cherry-picked all the things that are good about a Mercedes or an Audi or a Lexus, and they've put them all here to create what is just a stunning cabin. Now, we have this blue leather. Yes, blue leather. Come on, automakers, offer more interesting leather colors like this. And because we have the really nice prestige version of the V6 G80, we've got Napa leather with this beautiful stitching. It looks absolutely fantastic. And I love how it has this light wood, no cover over it. It does feel like unfinished wood, which really gives it that real feeling that you just don't get in a lot of luxury vehicles that put like some, you know, gross lacquer over it. Makes it feel plasticky. You've got a whole leather dash here, leather everywhere, soft touch materials. These seats are fantastically comfortable. I really love how they've done everything here. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is the shape of this steering wheel. It's a little bit weird, but it is a minor complaint after all. Now, there are two screens that you have available here in the gauge cluster. We've got the larger of the two. So the base one is going to be an 8-inch screen that has a normal speedometer, like a normal gauge cluster, but we've got the all-digital display. It's 12.3 inches, and the thing that this does that I think no other gauge cluster I've seen does is it's 3D. So the numbers and the needles look like they're kind of popping off like behind the numbers. It really does look like real gauges in there. It's super cool. cool. I've never seen anything like it. You can turn it off if it gives you headaches. I know some people aren't good with 3D. I'm usually not, but this has not bothered me. And there is sort of an intermediate zone where it's sort of 3D, but not as heavy. And you can change these gauges as well. This is the normal setting. If I go ahead and put it into sport mode, we get sort of aggressive looking gauges here. And the safety stuff actually turns into like a little racetrack, which is quite cool. The eco mode looks really cool as well. You have kind of this blue gauge. That's really neat as well. And then custom looks just like comfort as well. And the other really cool thing that this gauge cluster does is when you use the turn signals, it will turn one of the pods into a camera that views in your blind spot. I absolutely love that feature. I think it's fantastic while you're out driving. That is a feature that some Hyundais and Kias have as well. So now let's get to the main infotainment display. This is a massive screen, super wide, not super tall, but again, I think that's so that you have a better vision out front. 14.5 inches is the measurement, and you can control this in a number of ways. Right now, it is showing us our sort of screensaver mode, and the weather actually changes. We're on an overcast day. That's why it has all the clouds. If you're driving on a sunny day, it'll show sunlight. If rain, it'll show rain. I think that's pretty neat, and the map is live as well. So you have this sort of scrolly knob and you can kind of scroll through here. You have all these menu items that can be configured. Now this scroll function has a really nice feel to it. Everything is knurled. You have sort of knurled metal on all of the controls, volume knobs, all of that. I really love the way that the clicky nature of this feels. You can also, you have this sort of glass touchpad on the top. You can swipe in different directions to control that. I like that as well. The only thing that I don't love here is that you have to push pretty hard to get into a menu. You have to click like very heavily, and it requires you to kind of move your finger a little bit, whereas iDrive, BMW's controller, you can kind of do all in one motion without moving your hand, but it's a minor complaint, and I think this works really well. We've also got home buttons here, so you can find things really quickly. You can go to your map, radio, media. You can set this button up for whatever you want, so that's great as well. Heated seats, ventilated seats, heating steering wheel. No massage seats, but we do have this interesting like lumbar stretch mode if you activate this button right here. So you can have pelvic stretching, lumbar stretching, whole body stretching. So it kind of moves the lumbar support around, but it's not a true massage like you get in some other vehicles. When I go ahead and, so we have this rotating knob here for my shifter here. It's glass, which is gorgeous. It also lights up at night, which is really pretty. If I put it into reverse, you're going to see we have a really crystal clear backup camera here, and if I go ahead and scroll down on here, I can get a 3D like outside view of the car, and if I go through my little twist knob, I can actually like twist that in different directions, which is quite cool as well. So I really like that. You can trigger that here by using this, and if I come over here, I can close that, and then I can sort of brush around the car. You can see we have a 3D map view of the car, although I should note that those are not the wheels that we have on our G80. Those are other wheels that you can get on the G80, but they did not put the proper ones on the display for this, which is, you know, a little bit of attention to detail missed by Genesis there. Now we do have a wireless charger as well right here with a normal USB if you want to just plug in. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both found here, although they are not wireless. And then we have two cup holders right here. We have a Lexicon premium audio system, which is fantastic. 21 speakers with a 14-channel digital external amplifier. That sounds really great as well. So I am just very impressed with all of the technology here and all of the comfort. The design is great. I think that the Genesis really nailed it with the cabin of this car. So in the back seat, the G80 proves to be a phenomenal executive sedan with 38.7 inches of legroom. That is really spacious here. I even have controls like you used to get on a Lexus to control this front seat, so I can slide this forward to give myself just a ton of legroom here. By the way, these seats are so cushy. Oh my gosh, they're so soft. I wasn't expecting that when I first hopped into them. I think these are actually softer than the seats there in the front, which is fantastic. Try these out. They're the most comfortable rear seats I can remember in a long time. Now we do have some fun toys here in the armrest. We've got our cup holders. We have heated seats. I can control the sun blind here on the back. And then here in this little cubby area, I've got a USB charger. Up until now in the video, the G80 has proved to be very practical, but you'll see in the trunk, it's not so great. We've got 13.1 cubic feet of space, which is not amazing by any stretch. We don't have any grocery hooks or anything like that. We do have a cargo net right here, and you cannot fold those rear seats down to get more space, but we do have a rear pass-through just for skis. If you want something a little more practical, you're gonna wanna go for the GV80 SUV. Now, before we get onto the interior like we normally do, I want to show a really cool feature of the G80. It's called Remote Park Assist, but you may have heard it by its street name, Smart Park, from the Super Bowl commercials. That's right, a Hyundai feature carries over to Genesis here. Let's just say you're in a parking lot, parking garage, whatever, and you have to take this stupid end spot. It's really close to this wall. I can't even open my door without dinging it, but Smart Park is going to help us there. You can just start the vehicle on the key fob very easily, and then I'm going to hold this button down right here, and it is going to either reverse or drive the car out of the spot with ease. So I just hold down this button and watch what happens. It's gonna back itself up out of the spot automatically as I hold my finger down. I'm keeping my finger down, and now I have plenty of space, so I just lift off. The car is out of the spot. This is a really handy feature. So now it's finally time to get the new G80 out on the road, and let's talk about the engines first, because there are some big changes under the hood for this model. Now, in the previous generation of the G80, you used to be able to get 3 engines, a V6 with 2 turbos, and a V8. Well, all 3 of those engines are now gone. Your base motor is now going to be a 4-cylinder, but it's a really good one. It's a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and that's interesting because a lot of automakers in this segment, even in the mid-size luxury segment, start with a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Now, the advantage of having that extra half a liter of displacement is power. You get 304 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque, not 258 like most 2-liter turbos get. So that's a huge, significant power and torque bump over most of the competitors, and it's pretty quick too. It's 5.9 seconds from 0 to 60 with rear-wheel drive. You can get that as a rear-wheel drive or as an all-wheel drive, 8-speed automatic, no matter which one you pick. And the fuel economy on that is pretty good. 23 in the city, 32 on the highway, 26 combined. You lose a little bit with all-wheel drive, 22 in the city, 30 on the highway, and 25 combined. Now, we don't have that base motor. We have the bigger of the two, which is a 3.5-liter twin turbocharged V6 engine. Now, again, just like the 4-cylinder, this is very good on power compared to some of the other 6-cylinders that it competes with. We've got 375 horsepower on tap and 391 pound-feet of torque. Now, that torque number is really great. It makes the power delivery extremely smooth on this car. It is very effortless acceleration. Now, it's swift, but it's not super fast. 0 to 60 takes about 5 seconds. Now, compared to a 6-cylinder BMW 5 Series, that would be the 540i, which has an inline 6 engine, that does 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. So the German options are a little bit quicker than this, and I think that really has a lot to do with the G80's weight. This is not the most svelte car in its class. Now, fuel economy on this engine, not quite as good as the 4-cylinder. You're going to average 19 mpg in the city, 27 on the highway, and 22 combined. That's with rear-wheel drive like we have on this model. And like the 4-cylinder, you can add all-wheel drive. It costs $3,100, and that'll drop your fuel economy quite heavily to 18 in the city, 26 on the highway, and 21 combined. So you lose 1 on each category there, but it's helpful if you live in a cold weather climate. Now, I mentioned that 8-speed automatic. It also has an electronically controlled suspension with something they called road preview. So it'll kind of scan the road ahead to make the ride as comfortable as possible. I love how this G80 drives. It is so smooth. It is so supple. It really reminds me of the Lexus GS, which is now a discontinued model. They don't make it anymore. It's comfortable, but not completely muted. It's sporty, but without being firm or aggressive. It's certainly not to the level of, say, a BMW 5 Series or Mercedes E-Class in terms of dynamicism. and sportiness, but it does so in a more comfortable way. I think this is much more comfortable than a lot of those German options, but you have very natural steering that I think feels even more precise than a lot of the German options, and a very communicative chassis. Now, this is not a car that most people are ever going to push hard, but when you do, you really feel what the chassis is doing communicate to you. It really reminds me of that Lexus GS, and I think that if, you know, Lexus is going to lose some customers from the GS, my mom being one of them, who want a rear-wheel drive comfy sedan like this, and they don't want to go to a front-wheel drive ES, I think a lot of those displaced customers are going to find a lot to love here with this Genesis G80. Now, we do have some drive modes here to play around with, so I've had it in comfort mode all along. Sport mode is going to tighten up the bolsters on my seat, which is kind of a cool trick. I've seen that elsewhere for a number of years there. The E60 M5, I think, was one of the first cars to do that back in 2006. Now, the steering gets a lot tighter in this mode. It already had nice feel to it, but now it really feels responsive. And let's see how this twin turbocharged V6 sounds when I get on it just a little bit. So I'm going to come to a complete stop, and we're going to accelerate here. There we go. Nice wheel spin. Woo! Traction control kicks in. That is a swift car, so it does a really nice acceleration run. You get a little bit of slip from the tires before the traction control finally decides to cut in. But yeah, that was definitely a quick, swift experience, nice sounding motor. I'm looking forward to seeing what Genesis will do in terms of offering more power, because again, the V8 engine is gone. There's no trim above this 375 horsepower version, but I hear that Genesis is going to do a sport version. It'll be called the G80 Sport, and I'm assuming that'll be tuned, this engine, maybe to around 420, 430 horsepower, which I think will be really awesome, and I think that'll directly compete with things like the Audi S6 and the Mercedes E53 AMG. And one final thing to note about the G80, we've already said it's super comfortable, but it also drives really well. Safety comes standard. Now, this is something that the German automakers seem to not understand very well, because it doesn't matter where you go, Audi, Mercedes, BMW, they all charge extra for things like adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, highway driving assist, all of that kind of stuff. Not here on the Genesis. It is standard across the board on pretty much every G80 trim you're gonna get. So when we price this vehicle out, you're gonna see that the G80 comes in at a tremendous value with tons of safety stuff. And by the way, the safety stuff works pretty much better than most of the Germans do. The steering assist is fantastic. The adaptive cruise control is fantastic. I really love all the safety equipment in this car. So that was the 2021 Genesis G80. If you weren't sold from this whole video, just wait until you hear about pricing. It starts at $47,000 for the rear-wheel drive 4-cylinder model. Adding all-wheel drive to any of them adds about $3,100. Now the V6, as you see it here, starts at $59,000. To get it as we have it with the Prestige package is another $6,000, bringing the price up to $65,000. Now if you look at the BMW, Audi, and Mercedes equivalents with all of the technology and luxury found here, you're going to be looking at upwards of $70,000, probably $80,000 for some of those European options, which makes the G80 a screaming value in the mid-size luxury segment. I think so many of people who are displaced from the Lexus GS being discontinued are going to find a lot to love here, and even people who are just not ready to buy another BMW, Audi, or Mercedes because they've gotten too expensive are really going to enjoy what Genesis has done here. I think this is a fantastic mid-size luxury sedan that should be on your shopping list. Really hope you've enjoyed this review of the 2021 Genesis G80. For more videos like it, be sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell to be alerted of all of our latest videos. And check us out on other social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, where we have short little fun videos of all the cars we drive. I'll see you next time.